last year, we're finishing up the last one here in May. In a couple weeks, we did the Birds of Feather series, right? So you don't have to lie to me. I have a strong ego. So who has smoked any of the Birds of Feathers? Okay, most of you guys. What was the unique tobacco that we put in a few of them last year?
The Catarini.
Catarini Perique, right?
Yeah.
And that kind of set the stage last year for what we were doing with those blends as Pear was blending, right? There was Catarini Perique that we had. Not that St. James Perique is unique, it's just harder to get these days. The same with Rustica. And so last year, the whole Birds of a Feather was kind of about, we'll say, some more unique tobaccos and blending them. Hence where like the theme Birds of a Feathers came, and then all those names on those tobaccos, as Greg and I used the thesaurus for a day, we started coming up with words that spun off of unique, basically, right? And we took variations thereof and came up with the different names. Pear was in there with us as we were naming them and was completely lost because, I mean, well, he speaks English well once you start getting into a thesaurus, and he was lost and said, whatever you guys want. So Greg and I took care of those names. So this year, Catarini Perique, if you guys heard the story or not, Mark Ryan, who makes a lot of the Perique in the US, he had done it as an experiment years ago and basically only had like a barrel of it, right? Like he just did it, set it aside, kind of forgot about it. As he was selling his factory off in North Carolina, he stumbled across it and said, hey guys, do you want this? And we were like, yes. So and we still have a little bit left. So if you see another tobacco with Catarini Perique in it, it is not a lie. 550 pounds goes a long way at 10%, right? It goes a long ways, okay? So we still have some, not a lot, but we do still have some. When we think about blending, and you think about all the different blends out there, and what Russ Olette at Pipes and Cigars, Hearth and Home, all that is done, and Jeremy Reeves has done, and Pear has done. I'm not saying it's all been done before, because you still come out with, I mean, look, you can put an infinite percentage of Latakia, Perique, Orientals, right? And change the percentages, right? And tweak the top flavors. You know what I mean? Like, but you're still, for the most part, working with the same varieties of tobacco. And yes, you can try and find a unique strand of an Oriental or a unique strand of Perique or where you bought your Virginia from, etc. And the sugars and the nicotine. So there's lots of different things, but there's no real, I wouldn't say new, but somewhat new things. And so Pear was on a mission to say, well, what new can we do? Really fueled by the Catarini Perique. And what we came up with are two tobaccos, or two variations, we'll say, of existing tobaccos that you'll experience in every blend today. The first one is Rustica. We took the regular, basically a ready rub version of HH Rustica, if you've had it before from McBaron, and we stoved it. So we cooked it for a good while. And then we did the same thing with Catarini. We stoved some Catarini. Pear was on a mission to see what the stoving process would do to these two tobacco varieties.
Straight Catarini.
Yeah. That's about the general about tobaccos. When you're smoking the blend, we're not gonna tell you what is in the blend. I'm not gonna tell you tasting notes that you should or should not notice or anything like that, right? We just want you to smoke it, hopefully enjoy it, and experience whatever you experience. As you're smoking it, when you're done smoking it, then we'll talk more about what you liked, what you didn't like, what you tasted, what you didn't taste. If you've ever done it before or just smoked with friends, when a friend hands you something and says, I taste dirt and whatever else, right? You're like, I taste dirt too, right? Like, but we don't want to add any bias to what you're experiencing or not, okay? That's why we're not telling you and listing up all the ingredients and Greg's really nice descriptions he wrote just because of that, okay? We will show you afterwards, no problem. In fact, I actually lie, the recipe, not the recipe, but the whole description is on your sample of tobacco. Try not to read it, because may or may not bias you, you can, but it is what it is. They're on there. We're not hiding it from you. We'll show you it's on your bags of samples. So with that being said, Pear's world is tobacco, right? Blending tobacco, all that. So Pear develops all the tobaccos, and then I get to have fun and figure out what I want to do for labels, and if there's a theme or anything like that. So I had probably way too much fun, right, Greg? So I mentioned it earlier. I was in the military for 22 years-ish, mostly reserves, and retired a few years ago, so I like the military. And so I started playing around with that. And there was a movie that came, or not a movie, but a TV show that came out a little while ago on Netflix called Space Force. Right, you guys see that one? Like, anyways, really funny if you haven't seen it. And then, like, I realized that the military actually came up with Space Force. Like, it's like a real thing, and I get it because why we have Space Force. And I kind of said to Greg, I said, well, if the military can have Space Force, then we can have Pipe Force, right? So this year we've created we'll call it a theme of Pipe Force is a theme. So anyways, and I'll show you some of the labels and stuff in just a little bit, but it's just something to have fun with the labels instead of just a Sutliff logo and a name. So anyways, it's all about Pipe Force, but there's a lot of, what would the right word be? Not subliminal, but things that we,
allusion to.
there's a lot of things built into, some of it's very easy to reference, other things a little harder to reference and all sorts of stuff. So anyway, so I'm handing you all 6 blends at once. We're gonna smoke them together, like the same one together, so we can all be talking about the same thing. In the first one, you guys will hopefully get really quick. I know that guy at the end will, based on what he just said. So they're called episode 1 through 6. Does anyone want to guess which episode we'll smoke first? 4. Yeah. 4. And that will be the first one that's released too, is episode 4.
That's the way it was last time.
So, on episode 4 is the one you're looking for in your bag. There are, you guys have to work, you know, you can't like not work, right? So, there is a form here that talks about like things you're evaluating. If it makes sense to you, fill it out. If it doesn't, don't. But as you're smoking it, maybe some things to think about while you're doing it for each blend. These are notes that we'll pass back to Pear. Anything you want to write, trust me. Brian Levine has smoked all these blends. Some of his comments were not that nice in the beginning until we tweaked blends. I have smoked them all, but not pressed. This is the first time I've smoked them pressed. They are all being presented to you today in a crumble cake format.
Nice.
They will be a variation of crumble cake and probably like the same as Birds of the Feather, how we did the crumble cake, and then like our version of the plug. We may or may not turn one into a flake. We haven't decided yet. But we, at a minimum, they'll all be pressed and then cut in some form or fashion, okay? So. We had our entire factory bag, not entire, but all 5 of them cutting and bagging samples yesterday for Chicago. 600 of these sample bags were bagged yesterday.
That's so cool.
Cut and bagged. So, all right, so speaking of Pipe Force, we're going to be giving you guys different swag today. I hope you don't mind. The hats, the lighters on the table are y'all's. So with Pipe Force, in the military we have, you know, like insignias and stuff. So we created one for Pike Force. Well, I mean, stoving in general will strip a tobacco down just a little bit. Like depends on how much you stove it and how hardy the leaf is. And then it also like helps almost like mature it a little, bring out different flavors in it. So outside of that, I kind of let you determine what it's done to it or hasn't done to it. I think it still has a decent